Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For saying this video, we'll be discussing the 1999 Disney animated film, Tarzan. Of course, this movie, is based, on the story by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and it tells really the story and really the legend of Tarzan with the Disney spin on, or sort of say the stereotypical Disney spin on, and I get into that. Of course, this film, to me, I just recently watched this film because the cable channel Freeform is showing a lot of the Disney movies, but fortunately, it's the most recent ones and not the older ones. Like Pinocchio, Dumbo, Cinderella, all that stuff. Showing the more recent films for the last, let's say, 20 or 30 years. They've been showing on there. Anyway. Tarzan came out at a time where Disney pretty much ran out of children's stories because they haven't made anything. And when they did make an original story with The Lion King, which came out 25 years ago, but ever since then they made more adult stories. Or they made more adult stories into children's animated feature. Starting with, of course, Beauty and the Beast, which I never watched because of Angela Lansbury was in it, so I refused to watch that movie. And of course, you had Hunchback of Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and of course, Tarzan. And of course, Hercules is not exactly, and what made it kid friendly. Disney always makes it kid friendly, but Hercules is not exactly what you call a children's story. And of course, it ended with Tarzan. Of course, Tarzan is a story. For those who don't know the story, and who doesn't know the story of Tarzan by now, it's about this little orphan who the gorillas in like an African jungle found because his parents were like living in this jungle in Africa after a shipwreck, which was shown in the film, and they were living in the jungle, and apparently they were attacked. But over the years, there's been various versions of the Tarzan story that was made to me. The Tarzan with the Johnny Weissmuller films to the animated cartoon that CBS had back in the late 70s and early 80s. Because, of course, this version, you weren't sure who attacked them. But it had to be like a leopard, and this very fierce leopard who attacked Tarzan's family. And you really didn't know Tarzan's actual name. Way back in 1982, there was a feature film called Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan and the Lord of the Apes, and that was his actual last name, Greystoke, or his family name. So, of course, this film, you never heard Tarzan's actual real name. You never find that out, because his parents were dead, and you never heard the parents call him by his actual name. You never heard that. So after the attack on his family, there was one particular gorilla who was voiced by Glenn Close, by the way, comes in, looks around, and found out that the parents were attacked by the leopard, by this fierce leopard, and she ends up finding the baby, who happens to, of course, grow up to be Tarzan. And so she decides to adopt the baby and take care of it as her own child. And of course, the head gorilla, the head of this tribe of gorillas says, "Hey, he's not a gorilla. He's a human. He's a cub. He's a man cub, kind of like in the Jungle Book. The Disney version of the Jungle Book was back in the '60s. Says, hey, he's not a gorilla. And you can't replace another creature's baby with the baby that you lost, because early in the film, Tarzan's mother lost an actual baby gorilla, and so trying to replace it with Tarzan, and unfortunately she was allowed to take care of the kid of the baby, even though it was human. So of course later on, years later, it grows up, and the problem with this version of Tarzan is the fact that the Disney animators made him move like a gorilla. The way he will squash down and crawl around on his knuckles when he walks around and stuff. They drew him like to have Disney animators. They animated the character like they were drawing an actual gorilla, because they watched the behavior of gorillas and they used that to not only animate the gorillas but to animate Tarzan as well, and to make him look like more of a monkey, especially with his forearms, when his arms look when he was squashed down and stuff. And it's kind of distracting because, like I mentioned earlier, there was a Tarzan cartoon back in the late 70s and early 80s they aired on the CBS television network on Saturday mornings cartoon, and that Tarzan was like completely different than the Tarzan in the Disney version. And that one, the Tarzan was smart. Even though he wore the loincloth and stuff, and he did a Tarzan yell, he was more intelligent than this Tarzan was. Of course, Tarzan finds out, or he meets Jane, who I should say was voiced by Minnie Driver. Comes in, and of course he didn't have the iconic "Me Tarzan, You Jane" exchange. It was like it had a slight variation on it, but it was, a Tarzan moment, "Me Tarzan, You Jane" thing, and you didn't actually hear that a lot. You heard that in the old Johnny Weissmuller films from "Me Tarzan, You Jane." And this Tarzan did not speak that way that Johnny Weissmuller did in those early Tarzan films back in the 30s and 40s. You didn't hear that. I'm talking about the way Johnny Weissmuller spoke in those movies as Tarzan. The broken speech and the dialogue that they used to write up for the character. The way I'm speaking, Tarzan didn't speak that way in those movies. You go, "Me Tarzan, you Jane," you evil, that type of choppy dialogue. This Tarzan did not have that. He didn't go say, "Oh, "Me Tarzan, you Jane." He didn't do that. He was no more intelligible with his language and the way he spoke, but didn't speak like Johnny Weissmuller, and that was kind of disappointing. But of course, the problem was, of course, all the gorillas spoke in English. In the film, even though there were times where Tarzan spoke to him, like a gorilla, we do that. But when it's Tarzan and one of the gorillas, one on one, they spoke English to each other. Which, of course, in the Disney spin, that's how they did it. And of course, one of the gorillas was Tarzan's friend, and this is where it gets annoying. This is where I got annoyed with this film. Was voiced by Rosie O'Donnell. Of course, if you pay attention to my video, I have beef with Rosie O'Donnell, the way she, being the phony lesbian that she is, and this movie came out the same year that she attacked Tom Selleck on her talk show, and you can see that clip on YouTube. The way she went after him because he had the nerve to do an advertisement for the NRA around the time of the Columbine attacks. So I think that just happened, or was around the time that it happened, and the Tarzan movie came out and released. So they did get a little backlash for that. Unfortunately, Disney got a little backlash because of the whole Rosie O'Donnell thing, attacking Tom Selleck on the show. Of course, we're not going to sidetrack on that. But to me, as I watching this film, the Disney version of Tarzan, it really didn't do anything to, their own spin of the whole Tarzan myth, because it was pretty faithful to the myth of Tarzan in terms of how he was raised and stuff. And I never read the original book, but how he was raised by the gorillas and it was the ape man stuff. The only difference that I just mentioned was how Tarzan spoke, and not broken English type thing. But of course, Tarzan fell in love with Jane, and of course, originally Jane was supposed to go back to England after studying the gorillas in the jungle, but she decided to stay with Tarzan at the end of the film. And the villain of the film was to kill the capture the gorillas, and of course, he did capture a couple gorillas, but the gorillas that were left, including the gorilla that was voiced by Rosie O'Donnell. And I shouldn't point this out. There was no cheetah in this movie, which also I think might have ticked a lot of people off, was that there was, of course, during the whole Disney, the Johnny Weiss, and I'm not going back to Johnny Weissmuller films, but he was always there with cheetah in the not only the Tarzan films with Johnny Weissmuller, but I think also in the CBS Saturday morning cartoon, there was also cheetah. I think there was also a cheetah in that movie and that cartoon series as well. I don't remember that. I do remember watching the cartoon, but I don't remember there was actually a cheetah in there. And I believe there was. But in the Disney cartoon version, there was no cheetah. Which, of course, also people who grew up watching Johnny Weissmuller films, like I did, you see on the weekends on Channel 5 here in New York, there was no cheetah. So that bothered a lot of people where that was concerned. But the movie was entertaining for what it was, and the thing that I think really made the movie work was the soundtrack of this film. Of course, in the 90s, they had a lot of big name. I think it really started with Elton John, when he wrote and performed the songs for The Lion King. And they try to get more big name acts to do the songs for the various movies. And they have done, over the years, especially during the 90s, big name singers to perform the big signature song from movies. Vanessa Williams did that for Pocahontas, sang the song Colors of the Wind. Even for Beauty and the Beast, you had Celine Dion. And people those two may actually made a duet of the Beauty and the Beast song. So, which is a hell of a lot better version than Angela effing Lansbury. Right? That's why I refuse to watch Beauty and the Beast, because of that 16-time Emmy loser from Murder, She Wrote. I hated that show, so that's why I never watched Beauty and the Beast. And because she was the voice of Mrs. Potts, so that's why I never watched that show. And as a matter of fact, you did see a Mrs. Potts type teapot in Tarzan. I should point that out. Which went, oh god, they're showing the Angela Lansbury teapot in one particular scene. And so they tried to do it with the soundtrack for Tarzan. They brought in Phil Collins, who wrote and performed practically every single song in this movie. And I think that's what sold Tarzan, was the Phil Collins soundtrack. Because like I said, the Disney version didn't do so much with the version of Tarzan, or helped it along, but the Phil Collins soundtrack worked and helped improve this movie quite a bit. So that's my review of the movie Tarzan. Please click on the video, please rate it, please subscribe to my channel, please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews and on my YouTube channel at rallyc.com, that's or WDY. LetUsSee.com is the homepage to Rally Reviewer Chris Lee Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.